Hello and welcome to CIO Leadership Live in ASEAN. My name is James Henderson, Editorial Director of CIO in Singapore, and I'll be your host today as we welcome Miao Song, Global CIO of GLP based in Singapore, and of course, our CIO 75 honoree in 2021. Miao, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, James. It's a great pleasure to be here today just to talk about some of my personal experience. But more or less, I think it's really have a chat. And also it's a good time for me to reflect my past journey.
Great, and thank you for joining us and sharing your guidance, your highlights, your lowlights, and everything to really, so people can learn on the line as well from some great examples over your career. Now, on that note, it's probably a good place to start, isn't it, really, in terms of looking back at your background. You've worked for some fantastic, iconic companies in global roles, regional roles, lots of different variety in your career. Maybe a little bit around your background, and then we can go into some areas of focus.
Sure, thank you, James. Actually, when you asked me this question, I was actually thinking, where is home? And I reflected, I actually think I'm a global citizen for sure. So I live in 5 countries in the past 20 years. I'm a native Chinese. I'm from Beijing originally, and I started in Peking University a long time ago. After graduation, I was quite eager to study in the US to continue my master degree. But I remember at that time, I couldn't afford the tuition fee. If you think about more than 20 years ago in China, the huge expense of studying in the US was not affordable. And then I found my first job. So my first job was in Nestle. I was lucky that I was the first IT employee, local IT hire in Nestle a long time ago. That gave me huge opportunity to learn, because I actually learned how to set up network. I learned how to implement ERP. I learned how to implement sales and distribution and marketing solutions for all Nestle locations in China, including joint venture, including manufacturing locations, and also sales offices in China. A huge learning opportunity. I was even certified network engineer. I was certified NT networks engineer. I was certified many stuff in the IT industry. But what I learned most is how to actually interact with people and how to interact with the business. I think it's very important for anybody who was fresh from school. I think what I learned is how to actually interact with people from different culture and a different background at my early career stage. So I stayed in Nestle for about 4 years. And then I had the chance to move to Vevey, which is headquarters of Nestle a long time ago. So I spent a year in Switzerland. It was quite rare. Nowadays, if you think about global transfer, it was very easy. But years ago, it was hard.
That's a huge leap. 4 or 5 years into your career to then to leave the region and go to a different place and almost have the life change as well as the career change so early on. So it's a bold move.
It was. I was supposed to do the global template design for the ERP for Nestle a long time ago. So I did my job. And what I learned is actually quite different than the way I worked in China. Because in China, years ago, everybody worked really hard. And we worked so long. We delivered a project. Year end, New Year Eve, we were still working. But then into Europe, it was so different lifestyle, and I would feel like much better work-life balance at that time. It was quite eye-opening. But I think there's no good and bad. I think it's just different working style. Most importantly, is people work effectively and efficiently, not necessarily longer. So that's what I learned from that experience. And then I went back to China at the end of 1990s. It was 1998. Then I got a job in Shell. So I became the first CIO of Shell China a long time ago. I spent about 4 years in Shell China. I implemented information technology strategy, the IT operation model, and new systems to support rapid business growth across the whole business, downstream, upstream, you name it. And I spent 4 years there. And then early 2000, I think it was 2003, Shell decided to move me overseas to get me global exposure. So then I look at the whole map and then said, where do I go? So, and then because the Netherlands was a headquarters of Shell, so I decided to move to the Netherlands. But I actually changed from office worker, from head of China IT into a manufacturing role. So it's the largest refinery in the world. It was next to Rotterdam Harbor. And it was huge. Even traveling from one office to another to meet people, it took typically 5 to 10 minutes driving. So that was huge. And I learned, and my job was not just IT, my job was primarily on the, also on supply chain, etc. Yeah. So I learned a lot of business and I picked up Dutch language. I was among the expats in the Netherlands who spoke most Dutch, to be honest. We learned the Dutch very quickly. Because wow. I felt it's necessary, and I also felt if I crack the language, my relationship with people based there will be improved much more. So I took additional efforts.
There's a lot of non-job related skills that you thought you needed to acquire, because the job side you probably had pretty much secured in terms of what you could do, but the other things, learning the language, even Switzerland, embracing the culture, is advice that's crucial to do, I think, when you're moving overseas, I would imagine.
It is, because as a foreigner, it's as a foreigner, you have to adopt the culture, because otherwise you don't feel at home. And I think it's important. So I pick up the language in 6 months and put a lot of additional efforts. I watch TV, I read newspaper, I went to private lesson in my spare time. I did that intentionally. And in 6 months, I picked up the language. I took extra efforts to build a relationship with people. For example, there are 3 shifts in the refinery. So there's a night shift. So then I joined night shift. The reason why I joined night shift was because I was only Asian woman in the whole refinery, 3,000 employees. I was the only Asian woman, the first one ever. And then I thought, I want to see how they operate during the night. So I joined the night shift. I brought food. I said, I brought food to the night shift. And people initially look at me, it was like, well, she's here, right? She's a woman, not many women working here. She's Asian, we never saw Asian before. So I came, I brought food, and then I started to have a chat. And they like it. And they said, hey, how do you use this process control machine? What's your pain points of technology? How do you manage the operation? And after the snacks, and then people start to talk, and we build pretty good relationship. I think this is probably not relevant to a lot of CIOs in their day-to-day job, but I actually learned a few things. One is actually how you build that rapidly build that relationship to help with your job. That informal engagement is so important. There is formal engagement, you can do that with your work, but there's elements where it's informal relationship where you have to take extra mile to make it happen. So I took my extra mile. I must say I pretty much enjoyed my experience in the Netherlands. It was really fun.
And to your point, it's all completely out of your job spec, so to speak. And that takes your own willingness to do that. And you've been rewarded for it, obviously, but it's a really good lesson for everybody else thinking doing the job well is one part of it. Of course, it's incredibly important, but there's so many other elements that you could bring into this to be successful, as you've proved.
Exactly. And I do enjoy it because people may complain the weather, etc. But I thought for me it was quite joyful because I was able to have build relationship with people and have that smooth engagement. So when I proposed some projects, and I got quite a lot of endorsement. The reason is not partly because they like me. Secondly, because
it does help.
It was much easier for engagement. I think the leadership skill I learned in the Netherlands was an asset for me. I mean, if I reflect my experience, I learned a lot of leadership skill, how to story tell, but how to build a relationship, engage with the stakeholders in my previous jobs. And then 3 years later, after that refinery job, I was promoted into the regional IT leader role in Europe, in Shell. Then I spent some time to look at the regional structure, look at the regional operation. So I spent 7 years in the Netherlands. And then at the end of 2009, Shell decided they want to build regional leadership in Asia. So they asked me if I was happy to take on a role in Singapore. So I went to Singapore. Actually, the first time I came to Singapore was 1998. When I was very young, I built a solution and the leadership wanted me to demonstrate the IT solution. So yeah. I had a very good impression of Singapore. Then I decided, I said, yes, why not, right? So our family had a discussion. We said, okay, why don't we move to Singapore? Let's move to Singapore. So end of 2009, 3 of us, my husband, myself, my daughter, we moved to Singapore. That's how the story started. So I was doing a strategy role in Shell. So it was not purely IT. I think the beauty of doing that role, so first of all, it was a new role. So you have to be a self-starter because nobody told you how to do things. And also secondly, I was based in Singapore. Majority of the global leadership team was based in Europe and US. And I had a lot of freedom to do the job in Singapore. But what I learned most was I was able to talk to a lot of business people to look at how technology can contribute to the business strategy. So the strategy building actually changed from that angle, from a purely operational angle into a much more strategic angle. Yeah. And nobody told me how to do that because nobody knew how to do that. So I learned it by myself.
To your point, that's common vernacular now in our CIO forums and events, but it wasn't then.
It wasn't then. Now it's very common, right? But
not
that
then.
time, that time nobody talked about strategic engagement, the CIO leadership. You have to figure out by yourself. So I figured out by myself. I did that role for 3 years, and then lately there was opportunity with Johnson & Johnson Asia Pacific. So and they were J&J was great companies, and then they were I would say relatively particular about leadership because the bar is pretty high. And I went through the interview process with them. And in the end, I was selected as a regional CIO, Asia Pacific CIO for Johnson & Johnson. So this is the largest healthcare company in the world. So I mean,
these are big company names you're working for.
Yeah, this is a big company name. So I think I joined the company around 2014 to become the regional CIO in the healthcare. It gave me huge opportunity to learn the healthcare business, but also gave me opportunity to lead a regional team, building the technology strategy, looking at business growth, but also building the talent. As my main agenda. So it's always about strategy of technology, implementation, talent, etc. within J&J. And J&J was I think at that time they were pretty particular, and I think they have a lot of agenda in terms of cloud technology transformation. So I get the opportunity to lead global cloud transformation for medical devices business. It was a 27 billion business unit within J&J, and I led global cloud transformation from Singapore. So I have to work quite late every day.
It's 24 hours.
Yeah, it wasn't not just what I did in my day-to-day job, and I was really happy I was able to take on some additional responsibility, to be honest. And it was not easy because not really at that time, 2014, I don't think many companies moved into cloud completely.
No.
And we were I think, first few companies who did really well in cloud transformation. So there's a lot of detailed work has to work out. For example, how you define your strategy of migration, how you build your workload, and how you decommission your old portfolios before you move to cloud. What's the benefit? How you actually articulate benefit to the business of cloud transformation, etc. And I think through that project, I learned quite a lot of technology, to be honest, because if you don't understand how cloud works, there's no way you can lead that program. So I learned a lot of technology. I was able to manage a global team from Singapore. It's workable, right? So
it's a huge endorsement and credit to Johnson & Johnson as well for having that global approach and using the best talent wherever they may be, whether it's in Singapore or based somewhere else. So yeah, credit to you and credit to J&J as well, I think.
Yeah, and also I led Salesforce CRM implementation for the whole region, including Australia, China, Japan, Southeast Asia, Korea, etc., India. So it was one of the big projects as well. The reason why it was good because we took a very different approach. We took a very user-centric approach. Look at what are the value-added business capabilities we want to build through that implementation to improve efficiency, but also help the business to capture the business opportunities, building integrated technology solutions for customer relation management, but also for the day-to-day operation for the sales and marketing people. So that was a very promising project as well. I would say it's a good experience with Johnson & Johnson in 4 years, 2014 until 2018 as a regional CIO. And then 2018, I got a job, early 2018, actually it's January 2018, I got a job from Mars. It's a Mars Global CIO. So this is a Mars pet care business. It's now I think it's about $25 billion US, and the company operating 90 countries, 90 globally. And so I moved to Brussels to run the job. And people ask me, actually, a lot of people ask me, hey, why you want to leave Singapore? Singapore is so nice. Why you move to Brussels? I decided this is a very good opportunity. It gave me the true global view and global role responsibility. And then I decided, after talking to my family, I decided to move. My family in general, very supportive of my move. In fact, without my family support, I don't think I can become where I am today. I mean, all the move, it's not easy. Every 3 years relocation to a new country, it's very challenging for the, for my husband and for my daughter. But I think the key thing is that we learned everything together, and we had all the problems, we had challenges within our family when we moved to a new country. But we always stay together and we overcame those challenges together, which is important. A lot of leaders, I actually talked to a lot of leaders from different companies and different regions. One of the things, what I think most people will agree is that as a leader, as a business leader, you will be truly yourself only if you get a family support. If you don't have family support, you're not the best of you. If you're not the best of you, you're not performing the best in your company and in your business. You can fake it, but you can't fake it for long. This is something I learned. No textbook will tell me, no textbook, MBA textbook, no leadership seminar will talk about, the family support, those type of things, how your family feel. But I think this is, for me, it's quite very important. Yeah.
Hugely, and especially in such a mobile role where you're going to different markets as well. And I think it's a great point, actually. Again, non-role specific. The role's almost a given.
Yeah.
It's the other things that all add up and matter as well.
Yeah. I also think taking care of family is part of the important career experience. You can't grow if your family is not happy. And also you can't grow to be an authentic leader if your family is not happy. And I tested in many occasions in my last 20 years when I move around. This is so important. My suggestion and advice to people who are is like a part of relocation to take on global role or move to other country is really talk to your family and really take care of how they feel about your move. It's not your thing. It's the family thing. Yeah. And figure out a plan, figure out a solution. It may not be the best solution, but it has to be some solution work for the family. It's not a solution work for yourself, for you only. It has to be a solution for the family. Yeah, I think this is what I learned when I move around. But coming back to the Mars role, it was good because it's a nice combination of consumer business, but also combined with healthcare business for pet. So my J&J experience was used very well in Mars. I think almost from human health into a pet health. And the company did extremely well in terms of data science by collecting the consumer data, but also pet data to create very good insights. The insight is used to create a better life for pets. For example, prediction, using big data to predict the cancer for a cat, even 2 years before it happens. Wow. And using demand sensing to forecast the supply chain demand and being able to reduce the inventory level of our manufacturing, etc., of our supply chain, etc. So I think what is important in that role was the technology has created so much value, direct relevant to the business when we look at digital transformation.
And I think to your point as well, and I'm mindful we're edging closer to 2022, but that was still 3 or 4 years ago, which, we even talk about now some of those technologies still being nascent and not necessarily mainstream. So to have done that 3 or 4 years ago, based on conversations we have with CIOs and our State of the CIO research, some of the technologies you mentioned, I know cloud with J&J, but now big data and AI, yes, it was around, but there wasn't huge case studies and real impact projects like you've mentioned there. And that was what, 2018, 19?
Yeah, 2019, yeah. The reason I think why there are a lot of projects failed, because they were seen as a technology innovation project. They were not seen as a business project. I think that the key thing is starting from a business problem to solve, right? The big companies where they're successful, either the Googles or in the past Uber, they're solving one problem really well. And I apply the same methodology in my role, CIO role, starting from a business problem to solve and solving one problem by one technology or two technology in one go, and then gradually solving the second problem. I think often people fail to articulate what problem they're solving. And then they just tell, I need to implement ERP. Oh yeah, ERP is obsolete, let's do it. Then it failed, right? Or you say, hey, I want to do big data. Let's collect data. And afterwards, people don't feel there's a clear use case articulated. That is
seduced by the technology, but not really linked to anything else that matters.
Exactly. See, people are talking about metaverse now, right? They're talking about VR, AR, the virtual world. But in fact, regardless of metaverse concept, the technology was there in the past already. Why it was not widely adopted still? Because there's no, I think people are not able to clearly articulate the business problem. If you articulate a problem of, for example, using metaverse, say, hey, I want to solve the design problem of my production line in manufacturing. That's my business problem. Then the solution is I'm going to use metaverse or digital twins to rebuild my manufacturing production line to improve the product quality. A, improve product quality, B, improve efficiency of my manufacturing product line. And then people will resonate. They say, go do metaverse, right? If you tell, hey, metaverse is popular, it's fancy, now let's do metaverse. And that is completely different way of approaching this type of technology.
The communication strategy and the alignment is just a lot sharper when you say it that way rather than the other way.
Exactly. What I learned is that, which I actually coach my team, is for every single project, I challenge them, say, what problem you're solving. And until they clearly articulate what problem they're solving, I don't let them go. So basically I say, until you articulate a problem, and then I will endorse a project. Otherwise I'll never endorse a project. So everybody has that mindset. They think about the bigger picture. They think solving the problem, finding the business opportunity before they jump to the technology implementation. That is what I try to build. I think the other area I would say in my past job is really getting the right talents to help. It's super important. As a leader, I think we should position ourselves as a leader, not a manager. For me, the difference between the leader and the manager is the leader set up direction and the manager manage the details. So the managers managing the details won't go far in their career, and people who set up the direction and lead the company forward will go very far. That is a difference. So getting the right people who can help to build the vision is very important, and who can help to implement the vision is very, very important. So the digital talents, in my opinion, have a few characters. I think the first one is they're ready to learn. Whether they are from the same industry or different industry, they have a learning mindset and they learn very quickly. And the second one is they learn, they know technology, they know the solution. They're more detail oriented in terms of solution. I think the third thing is that they're self-starter. So they're not like listening to the manager's instruction to do things, but they're self-starting mode. So I think the entrepreneurial mindset actually make a lot of difference in digital talents.
And it brings us to, and again, I'm such a great lineup of companies that you've worked with, you know, Nestle, Shell, J&J, Mars, and now on to GLP. I mean, given your you know, your overview and your look back almost of your CV there, you know, and kind of what's gone on. There's a lot of firsts, and there's a lot of, you know, you doing things for the first time, whether you're at Nestle and you were coming in, or whether you were launching the APAC IT at Shell, or, you know, moving around different companies and doing cloud with J&J. You seem to do things without, there's no strategy or rule book there. You're kind of building this yourself in a way, because a lot of CIOs now have the benefit of hindsight of what other people have done 5-10 years ago. But in some of these situations, it was very much first new territory for you, for perhaps the business you were in. How did you approach that? Because you've kind of just went head on, great, really embraced it. I imagine it must have been scary at times, because there's no path forward in a way, because no one's done it before.
Yeah, I would say I'm a quick learner. I'm very open-minded. So if I don't know something, I learn it. I spend time to learn it. I learn by reading, by talking to people. I have my own way of learning new business. I learn very quickly. Secondly, I pretty much enjoy creating something new. Someone who has not done before, I pretty much enjoy it. I look at the CIO role not purely as a technology leader. I look at it as a business leader. And I come out with some new ideas, and then I test ideas with the business leaders. If it works, I go implement it. Even sometimes it's not a traditional CIO job. I go approach it as long as it's value added to the organization. So this helps quite a lot. I also try to get the best practice from other companies, but I don't copy. I learn the best practice and I digest, I put it into the context of the existing company, the current company, and I want to build something better than the best practice. So I always adopt that mindset. I think it works very well in the past so far, because people love the new capabilities, people love best practice, and people love that what you create add value to the company. So those are the things how I approach it. It's slightly different than the traditional CIO, because the traditional CIO comes in, there's a huge team, right? There's a strategy person, CIO office, ERP support, infrastructure, you know. Yes, we do have those people, but you need to set up direction, you need to stimulate and inspire them, you need to provoke them to come up with new ideas. To create a value and to do things differently and drive improvement. That's where.
I know I love that better than, you know, you want to go one better than best practice. Because that's a really refreshing and good way of putting it. And it sounds to me, most of this comes from within you, challenging yourself. Because, for example, nobody told you to learn a new language, but you did. Nobody necessarily told you to move to other markets to embrace different ways of working, but you did. So I'm guessing they're on you and your family, not necessarily any of the businesses you work for. Would that be fair that that's come from you?
Yeah, it came from my background. I think I mean, unlike the current younger generation in China, because now they have so many choices. I would say when I grew up, first of all, I didn't have many choices. Secondly, I grew up from a hardship. I mean, it's not that hardship, right? Hardship, but it wasn't the same as today. I didn't have so many choices. And in order to I wouldn't call it compete with other people, but because I grew up from the hardship and I have that motivation, so I learned how to self-motivate. So I'm very self-motivated. So I don't need people to come to me and say, Miao, you know, oh, you're so down, you know, I'm coming here to motivate you. I'm very self-motivated. I always find something, inspire myself. And I can even entertain myself, which is very unique me as a person. So really, I'm a self-starter. You put me into this country, Belgium, it worked. You put me to other country, it still worked, because I'm self-motivated. I'll find out opportunity and shape it. And I think that's how I worked. I can give you an example. I mean, as a CIO, the traditional role of CIO is building digital capability internally or technology capability. That's it. But then if I see something as a new business opportunity, I go boldly propose and do it. I mean, that's not my job. Yeah, I will do it. So I because as long as I add value, and nobody told me to do that, because I initialize idea, I do it, I enjoy it. And I stimulate my team, inspire my team to do something similar. And then people who actually want to innovate, people who want to do things new, people who want to improve, people who are self-starter, and they come to me and they work with me. That's how I see leadership, because you inspire people on day-to-day basis through your true vision. The vision is not just by talking. The vision is how you do things, right? Inspire people. But the second one is authenticity, right? You become a true leader. You're authentic. You show the real you. You don't show a fake you every day. And people get inspired and they want to follow you. That's, I think, is true leadership. And I learned this from my past experience. I don't think I learned it from any textbook. Yes, textbook, MBA program helped, leadership program helped, but that just gives you a framework. It doesn't give you the real essence, right? That's how I see leadership.
And just on that, and you know, it's such a great story and CV that you've had, and just, you know, we could spend hours on your time in Switzerland or your time in Belgium, and we probably will at some point. But it's a great story beyond the role, as you said, beyond the traditional role that we know. The other stuff that matters, the family, the upskilling, the other area, the leadership, the things that aren't on the job spec, that I think is incredible advice for everyone watching today, whether they're already in the role of CIO or they're aspiring to be a CIO, whichever they are. Now, given your fantastic, you know, career and a lot more to come, clearly you're a person of affairs. So I'm imagining when we reconvene in a few months or a few years, there'll be a lot more to add to this. But what would be your advice in summary to people that are, you know, looking back on your own career, of one advice, CIO to CIO or CIO to future CIO? And you've raised a lot of good points so far, but what would you pin down into one golden nugget of guidance, perhaps?
I think the first one is really learning mindset. Don't close the door of learning, because the technology is evolving so fast. And as a CIO, you better figure out a way to learn. I think either learn something needed for your job or not necessary for your job. When you talk about technology, you have to be better than the other people, for sure, because that's what you do, right? Otherwise, you can't be a CIO. You're an admin, you're a generalist, right? You have to be very specific and very comfortably talking about the technology in the business context. I think that's very important. I think the second one, CIO, is really, I would say as a CIO, it has to be the knowledge has to be broad, because there are other leadership skills needed by the CIO, but I think knowledge has to be broad. Yes, we're a CIO, we know IT technology, digital technology, but I also think we should know other stuff as well, what's ongoing in this world, and knowing not just the business, but knowing finance, marketing, business processes, everything, to be honest, as much as you can. And I think if you have that domain knowledge, it's super helpful for two things. One is you can have a better conversation with any business leaders, because you do have that knowledge. If you don't have that, you're going to see, oh, I only know my IT domain, I don't know anything else, right? Yes, it's fine, but That's a ceiling, glass ceiling for your future development. But if you know more and you can have the right conversation, suggestion in marketing, sales, business process, finance, accounting, that is fantastic. People will be like, wow, you know, she or he knows better than me. I think that's another one I would suggest, because very barely people talk about this, right? They talk about, yeah, CIO, you do technology, you're a business leader, you have talent, yeah, you are a successful CIO. But I would say have a broader knowledge. Broader knowledge will be helpful. I think the third one is don't limit. Think about, don't limit yourself. Just say, hey, I'm just want to be a CIO. I just want to work in this country, that area. I think be open about opportunity. You never know what opportunity will come, because now it's a truly global society, and also it's also there. Beyond this technology or the CIO role. I think being open-minded is very, very important. Those are my 3 tips. Obviously, there are other tips as well, but I hope those will be helpful for people who are just in the middle of their career development. They want to become a global CIO, and they're just wondering how they get there, right? I would think those are some of the tips based on my past experience.
Well, Miao, I'm so appreciative of your time today, and it's such a great CV on paper, but even more so when you spend the time to go through it in this type of forum and actually share some of the bits that people realize along the way, as I mentioned. So thank you so much. And I think, you know, really just giving that direction, inspiration, I think, as well, and guidance for people on the line watching that are looking to emulate, or at the start of their career looking to become a CIO. So on that note, I'd say thank you enormously. Obviously, again, congratulations on your CIO 75. The innovation doesn't stop. And I think as a globe-trotting CIO, you've probably got some planes to catch this year. So hopefully you can.
Yes, absolutely. I'm planning to travel to some of different regions, to meet people, face to face, but also get a chance to see our business. Looking forward to more travel this year in 2022.
Good stuff. Well, thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.